Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Georgia Graves, and I co-chair Aviation and Airport Activities, a committee under the umbrella of Committee for Dulles. To give you a little background on the Committee for Dulles, for those attending who may not know about CFD, the Committee for Dulles was founded in 1966 and is the oldest member-sponsored organization promoting Dulles Airport. As Dulles Airport continued to expand over the years since '66, the work of the committee became increasingly more significant. The committee has played an active role in fostering and promoting Dulles as dramatic changes occurred at the airport. We continue today to focus our energies on maintaining Dulles Airport as the major economic engine for the region and the Commonwealth. The Aviation and Airport Activities Group of the Committee for Dulles is a vehicle that the members can use to engage in smaller groups and hear more about what's going on at the airport from staff and executives at the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority, along with representatives from the airlines and other airline-related organizations and businesses. And today we're proud to have the General Manager, Juan Rivera, of the General Manager of Manassas Airport, to be one of those organizations to speak to us. The Aviation and Airport Activities Committee works to keep the Committee for Dulles updated on changes at the airport and issues that impact passengers, airline services, cargo, security, and the like. We do some incredible tours, and hopefully after this COVID nightmare is over, we'll be back and doing those, including fuel farm tours, visits to the Udvar-Hazy Center, tours of the A380, airline first class lounge tours, Dulles canine presentations, and more. We're very proud of our committee. I co-chair with John Center, and our members are Logan Antigone, John Bonfields, Dick Datos, Brandon Ferris, Dave Kirby, Paige Croner, who's just joined us. Paige, hello. Howard Lancet, Sheila Ohms, Marcia Senek, and Sydney Woods, and our newest member, Paul Puckley, and also Tim Murray. I see he just jumped on. So we're very proud to have you all with us today, and I'd like to turn it over to our Executive Director, Scott York, to introduce our speaker.
All right, thank you, Georgia. It is a pleasure to be here today, and I welcome all of you as well. Juan Rivera has served as the Airport Director for Manassas Regional Airport for over 20 years. As Airport Director, he reports to the Deputy City Manager and serves as the staff liaison to the city's Airports Commission. The Director provides administrative and operational oversight of the Manassas Regional Airport. Juan has over 30 years of general aviation airport management experience and has served as manager or director of 4 general aviation airports during his career. Juan graduated from Indiana State University with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Aviation Administration, plus he holds a private pilot's license. We need to go flying sometime, Juan. He was selected as Airport Manager of the Year in 2000 by the Virginia Department of Aviation, and in 2018, he received the Airport Executive Partnership Award from the National Air Transportation Association for his efforts to foster relationships between business and airport operators. He has served on numerous advisory committees and panels for the Virginia Department of Aviation, Federal Aviation Administration, the American Association of Airports Executives, and the National Air Transportation Association, as well as being a past president of the Virginia Airport Operators Council. He served 3 years on active duty in the United States Marine Corps and 9 years in the reserves as a combat engineer, rising to the rank of major. Juan Rivera lives in Prince William County with his wife Elizabeth and their 2 daughters, Megan and Emily. Ladies and gentlemen, Juan Rivera.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Georgia, for inviting me. It's been a while since I had the pleasure to speak to the committee, and you know, I'm glad to do it anytime. And so again, thank you. I'm going to have a PowerPoint presentation, and I would ask if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, or you can wait to the end. And then I have about a 3-minute video I'd like to show you that I was telling Georgia that this is our first time putting a video together that we presented to City Council. So I thought we did a pretty good job considering we didn't have a whole lot of time to do it. But anyway, I'd like to show you that. It's a little bit better and wraps things up kind of from an annual standpoint in this past year. So let me see if I can share the screen here and get the PowerPoint presentation started. I've also been told that there's a delay in my speaking and it actually showing up on the screen. So you'll have to bear with me. It's our system here, I believe, at the airport. And you can make believe that you're watching one of those old Kung Fu movies on TV. So first of all, the Manassas Regional Airport, this picture was taken in 2019, and it doesn't reflect the new development we have on the southeast corporate pad site of the airport. But if you can see my little pointer, I'll briefly kind of go over the airport. Airport consists of 800 and a little over 800 acres, 819 acres roughly. We have 2 runways, the largest runway being 16 left, 34 right, which is 6,200 feet. We hope to add another 300 feet to that at some point in the near future. We also have a shorter 3,200 or 3,700 foot parallel runway. Each runway has its own parallel taxiway. You have the east side of the airport, and then you have the west side of the airport. The west side of the airport being the oldest part of the airport. The airport was developed or built at this location in 1964. So the facilities on the west side are older. We plan in the future to rehabilitate the hangars, tear down the old ones, and put new ones up. The east side being the newer part of the city, the airport. Most of the buildings that are over here are less than 30 years old. We're unique in the sense that you have Broad Run actually runs underneath the runway and taxiway Alpha. So it does have its challenges when we have flooding. The runway itself is not impacted, but 2/3 of the airport is located in floodplain, which is probably pretty typical when they're looking to build an airport. They try to find the worst property ever that nobody else wants to build on it, and then the airport's built, and then everybody starts to build around it. So we're very fortunate. We partner with Prince William County, and they've done a great job with zoning around the airport. So we have very little impact when it comes to things that are not that don't do very well around the airport. So the airport is owned and operated by the city of Manassas. I am a city employee, and the city has owned the airport. We're basically a peninsula that jets out into the county. We're bound to the north by a railroad track, so we cannot really have anything in the way of expansion to the north. To the south, we have Broad Run that runs to the south of us. We have very limited expansion capabilities to the south. And on the east side, we have Canyon Branch, another creek that kind of runs along the boundary of the airport. And to the west, we have Broad Run. So the airport itself does not have a lot of opportunities for expansion except for on the southwest. And I'll talk a little bit about that when we start working on our master plan, when I talk about our master plan. The mission statement, the key takeaway from here is that we are regional airports. We do serve the city of Manassas, Prince William County, parts of Fairfax, Manassas Park, And the biggest thing that we do at every airport is safety, customer satisfaction, and fiscal responsibility. The Airport Commission has oversight by a 10-person airport commission. Mr. Dan Radke has been the chairman of the Airport Commission for over 20 years now. He'll be stepping down in June. We have 2 representatives from Prince William County. Ross Snare, who also serves on the chamber, is on our commission, and Mr. Jim Uzzle, retired from United Airlines, is also a member of the commission and represents the county. The county can appoint someone, but ultimately the city council has to approve them. So all of these folks serve at the pleasure of the council, and their job is the oversight of the airport. They assist with negotiating leases and franchises, but ultimately city council has to approve major issues or contracts. Some of the statistics around the airport: we are the busiest general aviation airport in Virginia. We're home to over 400 based aircraft. Again, we have the 2 runways. We have an ILS, so we have all weather capability. We do have on-call customs that actually comes from Dulles. So if an airplane wants to clear customs, they call ahead of time, and U.S. Customs drives out from Dulles and they clear the aircraft. We do get aircraft mainly from the Caribbean and Canada, but we get aircraft from Europe as well. So that's something that is a great asset for the airport, and something that we hope to keep for a very, very long time. We do have a FAA air traffic control tower that is manned by FAA personnel, but we're unique in the sense that we actually own the tower and we maintain the tower. We have been working with our local legislators, Congresswoman Wexton, Senator Kane, and Senator Warner, in an attempt to try to get a new FAA tower built at Manassas that the FAA would own and operate itself. The airport's been willing to build the tower as long as the FAA signed a 20-year lease agreement so that we could pay off the principal and interest on the bond. To date, we have not been successful in negotiating that. So we'll continue that in hopes that the tower will be, I don't know if you probably don't know the history behind this tower, but the tower is actually in Centennial, Colorado. They were building a new tower, and so Manassas had been told by the FAA that if they built a tower, acquired a tower, they would man it. And I think, frankly, they didn't think we could do it. But somebody, Jim Bland, I think I credit him the most with the Department of Aviation. He's since retired. Found out that this tower existed. They took it down, trucked it all the way from Centennial, Colorado to Manassas and rebuilt it here. So it's 60 plus years old if you count, how old it was before they took it down, and now that it's been sitting over here. So it's well beyond its useful life and doesn't meet the FAA's criteria. So if you know somebody in the FAA that can help us out, let me know. We are designated as a national GA airport by the FAA. We were the only one designated in the Commonwealth with that designation, but recently I believe Leesburg also got that designation. But there's only like 87 GA airports in the country that have that designation. We are a reliever for Dulles and National. I think you guys already knew that, but we're home to 24 businesses currently, plus businesses that come onto the airport and actually do business. And we require that they have a commercial operating permit to come onto the airport and do work. And mainly those are like catering companies, some maintenance companies that come on, and they kind of mobile maintenance units. But we're very proud that we've been able to attract and maintain, for the most part, 24 businesses. We've been as high as 26 before. We're ranked 145th out of the 520 busiest GA airports in the country. You see some of the companies that are located here at the airport. You might recognize Aurora Flight Sciences, which was actually a subsidiary now of Boeing. And of course, Leidos is also based out of here now, and have plans to continue to expand here at Manassas. We have a very small airport staff for the size of airport and for what we do. But you know, we're set up in 3 divisions, just like you would find at Dulles or any other airport. We have a maintenance division, an operations division, and administrative, just on a very small scale compared to what you have at Dulles. Only 8 full-time people at the airport. Economic impact. The Department of Aviation does a economic impact study every 5 or 6 years is what their goal is. Sometimes it's a little bit longer than that, but the last one that was done in 2016. And you can see that Manassas did $375 million in economic impact, a payroll of $117 million, and 1,351 jobs. Put that in perspective, from the GA side of the house, and I'm not talking air carrier. Air carrier has a much larger impact on the Commonwealth than the GA airports do. But we have a 1.1 billion impact on the economy. And if you put that in perspective, Manassas is doing a third of that entire amount. So that kind of tells you where we're at in the pecking order of the general aviation airports here in the Commonwealth. I throw this up because this is basically corporations that use the airport on what I call a regular basis. Well, and I define that as coming into the airport a couple times a year. I'm not saying they come in here every day, but some of them do. You know, for example, you know, Quest comes in on a very regular basis here at the airport. And again, the other ones, of course, part of being a general aviation airport is, and flying into general aviation airports, corporations, you know, like to come into our airports because they can get in and out and nobody knows who they are, and they don't want any fanfare. They don't want people protesting, you know, as they walk through. So generally, you know, it's very difficult in many cases to really find out who's flying in. But I have kind of worked it out so that if we do have some big name corporations, I usually find out who they are. I just share this to kind of show you. A lot of people are surprised, you know, that we do get quite a few corporations that fly in here. None of them are based here except for Marriott. But even though they're based out of Maryland, they base their airplanes here. Some of the new economic things that are going on at the airport, APB Jet Center, which is one of our FBOs here. They've been here the longest of the 2 that we currently have. A great group of folks. Can't say enough about what they've done for the airport and the amount of investment that they've made in our airport. They're building a new 19,000 square foot hangar. In fact, these pictures are a little old. The doors are already on. And I've been told that they should be done with this hangar by mid-May at the latest. So another opportunity for them to locate aircraft here at Manassas coming into the state from outside or other airports within the state. So very happy for their investment. Chantilly Air Jet Center is our newest FBO. Dulles Aviation was here for many years. They decided to call it quits several years ago. We put out an RFP, and Chantilly Air received the franchise to build a new facility. The facility sits on 10 acres. It has 2 30,000 square foot hangar facilities, and the approximately I believe they're right at about 27,000 square feet of lobby and office space in the center. I'll have to boast on their behalf. It's one of the nicest facilities I have seen. And it's from an FBO standpoint, they did not spare any expense, which is, I wouldn't expect the owner of this company to do anything other than that. Great to have them on board. It's a $14 million investment, and we're looking forward to them bringing new customers to the airport, and working with our current FBO as well to really put us on the map. From an economic development standpoint, this picture below here is an aerial of the new FBO. We do have two lots, lots A and lot B. One's 3.2 acres, the other one is almost 7 acres, 6.89 acres, that we will be using to develop in the near future. We've had some interest in this already. Problem is with the 3 new hangars that have been built, we had upwards to 80,000 square feet of brand new hangar space available. So it takes a while to get that off the market. As these hangars fill up and they become 100% full, lot A and lot B will be more attractive. When we put this RFFP out about 4 or 5 months ago, we had a lot of interest from people as far as Texas, moving airplanes to this area. So we look forward. Biggest problem most everybody had is just too much inventory right now, and so I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think that most of the calls that I get, people want hangar space and they want it now. They don't want to wait for you to build it. So I know our 2 FBOs will be working diligently to get that space filled, but we do have these lots available. This little black area here, this was my attempt to make a taxi lane. That's something that we will have to build in order to open this up, or we could make a deal with whoever wants to develop it and they can do it themselves, maybe at a lower per square foot cost. There's always a way to make it happen. This is kind of the development concepts for that area. You can see right here that this is the FBO that's already leased and open. And lot B, you can see the types of hangars. We could get 4 corporate hangars placed there, and we can get about a 30,000 square foot hangar over here on lot A. But this area right here, our intent is to make this a corporate campus style. Chantilly has done a great job with their facility, incorporating a lot of stone facade in their design. And so we're going to have whoever builds these hangars out will be required to have a similar design effort, so that when you drive down this road here, you're going to see some very nice landscaping, a really nice corporate campus for the folks that have their aircraft based there. There's not a lot you can do with a box hangar. It's a big steel box, but we can certainly ask that they do some stuff with the office space, the landscaping, to really give it a really nice upscale, business class look. West Side corporate development and drainage. This is a project we're in about we did the preliminary design, and we're going to get ready to move into the final design. It essentially will relocate this intersection here because it floods, unfortunately, quite often. That road will be relocated up here, and it'll kind of come across here. These are the old Dulles Aviation buildings. They've been there since the early 70s, and they're well beyond their useful life. So those will be torn down, and that's going to give me an opportunity to redevelop this side of the airport. We have had some interest from some folks in building 30,000 square foot hangars with the doors big enough for BBJs and C-130s. This is an area of the airport that allows us, we're constricted by Part 77 surfaces. Those of you who are not aware of that or understand what that is, it's basically the imaginary surfaces the airports have to abide by to make sure that there's no penetration in these surfaces, so that aircraft don't have a problem with hitting buildings or any other kind of structures. So I was pleasantly surprised when we did the analysis and we figured out that we could get a building or two in here with 42-foot high doors or 44-foot high doors that can accommodate these types of aircraft. Here's a conceptual drawing. Again, this road here is already under design. It also includes a dry pond here and also includes a retention wall. But you can see all of the development that we can get into this area here. We like to develop every square inch of the area that we have. We just don't have a lot, so we have to make it fit and make sure that we use it wisely. Because once it's gone, you just can't use, do anything else. Future projects, we do kick off a master plan here in June. We just applied for we actually submitted a grant application for that project, a little over almost $700,000 project. So for the next 18 months or so, 24 months potentially, the airport will be going through this very public process that we hope to get input from all of the key stakeholders, which will take the airport into the future 20 years. So I'm looking forward to that. Not too many airport directors and managers actually get to go through the process, because it's a 20-year document. If you haven't been there for 20 years, or if you just don't catch it in the right year, you don't get to do these kind of things. So that's going to be great going through that process from scratch. We do have the design of taxiway B. We just submitted the grant application for that. That'll be an ongoing project with the construction of that. That's a widening of taxiway Bravo. And the reason we're widening it is because we do have BBJs that come onto the airport, and we need to have the taxiway at least 50 feet wide. Right now, it's only 40 feet wide. So we need to be able to accommodate those types of aircraft, which we seem to be getting more of. Taxiway Alpha construction actually starts next year hopefully in June timeframe. Some of the issues that I like to bring up to everyone is, I mentioned Aurora Flight Sciences as being a cutting edge company here at Manassas that, are developing drones and UASs. We're looking into these types of things on how we could be impacted in the future. Electric aircraft, when you go design a ramp, are you now going to have to start putting electrical outlets, along the edges of the ramp, in the center of the ramp? Are you going to have an electric fuel farm, where you have, instead of fuel trucks, you have trucks that pull up and you hook your airplane into it, and it actually charges you, kind of a mobile charging station, and then you're going to have to go back to some type of charging facility, to charge those trucks overnight. These are a lot of things that people don't have the answers to right away, are readily available. So we're trying to think outside the box on how we could position ourselves in the future. Vertiports, it seems to be the buzzword that everybody is using now, not so much for helicopters, but UASs and, autonomous aircraft landing. How do you support these vehicles? For the things that I've seen so far, they're going to be electric in most cases. So you're going to have some type of power source to them. They're not going to be all that big. So pavement design's probably not going to be an issue. Do they have to be elevated? Who knows? So, those are things that we will probably look at a little bit, either in the master plan process or as a standalone project that we just incorporate in some of our studies. So we'll keep looking at future technology and how we can position ourselves to best take advantage of all of that. One of the things that, I talk to people about that can really hurt our airport, one, airspace. Airspace above us belongs to Dulles. And, Dulles, depending on what they're doing over there, can have an impact on us. So, we're always keeping our eyes open, on what's going on in Dulles and what airspace issues are going on that could impact us. So, we recently were informed that the restricted area and the demo area down in Quantico has a 3 mile buffer on it. Unbeknownst to us, it's always been there, but apparently they haven't been doing anything with it. And so now they decided to, do what they were supposed to be doing, I guess, for some time now, and creating this buffer. Not only does that impact us in IFR conditions, but my understanding is it can also impact Dulles with aircraft coming from the south, having to maintain that 3 mile buffer, as well as 500 foot above whatever the elevation is that they've set for that particular MOA or restricted area for the day. Or so I don't think it's going to have that much of an impact on us, but I just bring those kind of things up to let you know that, anything that goes on in this region when it comes to airspace could impact us, as well as the ground transportation. I just recently met with the chair of the Board of Supervisors for the county, and one of the things that I stressed to her was ground transportation can kill us if we don't have good ground transportation to and from the airport. I am happy to hear that the new road going through on 66, the pay lanes that they're putting in, will be done in supposedly December of 2022. We've been told that it's going to guarantee 70 miles an hour all the way to the Beltway. That's great news for us. It's great news for our FBOs. And, we applaud that if that's actually what occurs. So, that kind of transportation doesn't do a lot of good to fly into Manassas if it takes you an hour to get to 66. So obviously we have a dog in the fight when it comes to what ground transportation issues are in the county, in the city. Last thing I'll talk about from, issues that we look at on a regular basis is environmental issues. When it comes to stormwater management, stormwater issues, to meet those regulations have added, in some cases 35% to some of our construction projects. So, we're like everybody else. We have to meet the requirements, but, as a smaller, GA airport, we don't have the revenues that a lot of larger air carrier airports have, and types of revenues that they have available to them to pay for some of this stuff, having to buy, credits, a couple $100,000 in phosphorus credits, wetland credits. It just adds to the cost of our projects. And again, we don't have a person here on staff that does nothing but environmental. We have to rely on our ops people and, folks over in the city to kind of help us out with those things. We do have a financial plan that the Airport Commission, we started it as a tool probably 6-7 years ago in order to maintain, our self-sufficiency. And these are some of the strategic goals that the airport has set so that, we maintain our fiscal, being fiscal responsible and maintain our position, which we're currently, in the black. And we don't want to go back to the days that we were in the red, because I can tell you the airport does not compete well with hot school lunches. We would lose every time. So talk a little bit more about that. But, you can see that these are probably goals that most airports are going to set. But down here, the last couple ones, I'll mention that, maintain unrestricted cash and investments balance equal to our annual expenses, and our debt service coverage of not less than 1.5 times. And I bring these up because on the next slide, we talk a little bit about financial highlights. These are probably a lot smaller numbers that you're used to looking at from Dulles' point of view. But anyway, our budget for 2022, with the proposed budget is $5 million. It jumped up considerably this year because of the project that we're doing on the northwest side. We're going to spend about $1.6 million of our own money out of the airport fund to do that project. Unfortunately, the Department of Aviation, it's not an eligible item for the FAA. through the AIP funding, and it's not something the Department of Aviation, even though we've been working on them for many years, the Virginia Aviation Board just doesn't seem to grasp the concept that airports, GA airports specifically, should participate in revenue generating projects. They just can't get past that. And so essentially they will approve projects that are hangar related, but yet they're still not on board with revenue generating projects such as the ones that we're trying to do. We do maintain a balanced budget every year. We are self-supporting, and when I say self-supporting, that's in all categories: our operating budget and our capital budget. Some airports will tell you, GA airports will say, oh, we're self-supporting, but when you dig down and pull back the layers of the onion, you will see that they're not really. And I think it was a study that was out, I don't know, 6-7 years ago that Embry-Riddle did, and it found that only about 25% of the GA airports are actually self-funding and self-supporting. Last year, we put right at $300,000 in our retained earnings, which is basically every budget that we submit. It has to be balanced, but we also like to put some money in our rainy day fund or our unrestricted cash, or some people call it unrestricted net assets. But right now, we currently have $8.3 million in unrestricted cash that we could use for projects and whatever we need to pay for. But this number right here is, we're proud of that. And that is, in 2020, the businesses located at the airport contributed $824,000 to the general fund. The general fund being, the city's general fund. So when I go out and I talk to the Rotary Club or the Lions Club, I'm always happy to point out that we don't take any money from the general fund. In fact, we contribute money to keep their taxes low. So that's a good story that I can go out there and tell. And as I discussed on the previous slide, you can see there that our goal of unrestricted cash and investments as a percentage of expenses is 280.1%. And our goal was 1.5, and we're at 3.5 for debt service coverage, meaning that we bring in enough cash to cover 3.5% of our debt. We started doing this financial report, like I said, about 6 years ago. Davenport is the company that helps us do this. We make comparison to all the airports in the Commonwealth that have the means to provide us with the information. The only GA airport that we actually can compare ourselves to is Leesburg, because they're the only ones that actually have their accounting set up that we can use. So we're really comparing ourselves to air carriers for the most part. I throw these slides in, not that you guys don't know what kind of airplanes we have, but there's a lot of groups that I go out and speak to that have no idea what we have at the airport or what we actually, accommodate. So this slide here is, I would say 70% of the airplanes out here are these types of smaller single engine light twin aircraft, smaller Robinson 44 helicopters, people's personal aircraft. In some cases, they use it for business. Most of it's recreational in nature. But some of these things, you take a look at this Cirrus 22 here, that's brand new. You're talking $300,000-$400,000. So they're not cheap to even have a small airplane like this. Cessna, same boat. They're, pushing over 300,000, brand new. Some of the bigger aircraft you'll see on our fairly regular basis. The C-130, we get civilian as well as military. The National Guard likes to come in here sometimes. The Boeing business jet, we're seeing more of those. The BBJ. Before we didn't get any, and now it seems like we're getting one maybe every other month. Of course, the Global's fairly popular. The Dornier 328, we used to have one based here. Probably should take that one out because we don't see as many of those as we used to. And then, of course, you have your regular Gulfstream category of aircraft and your mid-size aircraft, you know, your Hawkers, your Beechcraft, and your Learjets that are all based here as well. So that really ends the slide presentation. I'm going to see if I can pull up the video and play that for you, and then I'll open it up for questions.
All right, excellent.
Well, that was
Go ahead.
that was our attempt. I'm sorry, Scott. I do want to point out that the aerial photos video was done by a drone. We have the deputy city manager, who's actually my boss, has his own drone. And so he's happy to come out here to do any kind of drone footage. And his price is just right. It's free. So, you know, we'll be using that quite often now that we know he's pretty good and he didn't run into anything and he didn't get the FAA, the controllers didn't say that he did anything bad. So he is basically proven himself.
Excellent. Well, Juan, we thank you for your presentation. Very informative. We do have a few questions on chat. And ladies and gentlemen, if you do have a question and haven't put it in there, please do. The first one, which I was thinking about, and Georgia has put in here, is the question about noise contours. Obviously, one of the challenges for many airports or local jurisdictions allowing inappropriate land uses in and around and the airport and encroaching upon important areas that should not allow for residential development. With the regional airport there, does the city as well as the county use noise contours to justify keeping inappropriate land uses away from the airport?
Yes. Both the city and the county have a airport overlay district. The city is more restrictive, but our reach, if you know, the contours actually go out into the county. You know, the 65 LDN is out in the county. Everything else, where the 70, you know, plus are all on airport property. So we bought, I own, the airport owns about 20 lots to the south of us that we bought in More Green Estates, which is in a residential area. I go to the homeowners association meetings, and because we have 20 lots, I have 20 votes, so I can basically outvote anybody if I wanted to. But I don't do stuff like that. You know, I've had people call me and say, you got to vote for this. We want this or that. And I usually vote 10 yes and 10 no's on everything because I don't live there. And, you know, we have a great working relationship. I go to their annual meeting. If they have any noise complaints, you know, they bring it up. They feel comfortable calling me. And that's just been something that has occurred over time. The first couple times that I went down there when I first moved here, we were not paying homeowners association dues, and they weren't too happy about that. And so, you know, I barely got out of there with my scalp intact, but we have been able to turn the corner, and we have a good working relationship with them. We have a great working relationship with the county staff. And whether by design or just sheer luck, they have done a great job keeping, you know, the area around the airport, you know, not putting residential around the airport. The closest thing we have are apartments, and typically apartments, you know, people that live in apartments hear a lot more noise, and so we're typically not called. We do have a voluntary noise abatement procedures that we have on our website, and noise sensitive areas marked out on our website. And we encourage the pilots to fly friendly. You know, there are times for those who are pilots, you know, you don't have to go full bore when you can pull the throttle back a little bit when it's safe. You know, that prevents a lot of noise issues. We only average about 2 to 3 noise complaints a month. And we take care of them very quickly and try to get the information that they want. Now, sometimes they're not happy with the information, and sometimes it's dullest, frankly. You know, but we have that capability of letting them know where the airplane came from.
Excellent. You had mentioned that you receive flights from Europe, Canada, and the Caribbean. Are those primarily commercial?
These are all corporations for the most part. We don't have any commercial activity here. The closest thing that I'm trying to get to that is scheduled charter. I have been working with Ultimate Air and others to get scheduled charter at Manassas. This is not Part 121. It's not, you know, a airline per se. We don't have to be a 135, 139 facility. We don't plan on being. You know, I tell everybody we know what we want to be when we grow up. You know, we don't want to be an airport that's serviced by an airline. We have two great, you know, airports in our region, you know, Dulles and National, and as well as BWI. And we have, as long as I'm here, I have no desire to have, you know, air carrier out of here. Now, again, like I said, there's a big difference between that and scheduled charter. That's pretty much point to point. It operates under Part 135 or 380, and it's totally different. And that is something that their airport commission has wanted to do, because we have this beautiful 19,000 square foot facility out here that was built for regional air service a long time ago, and we would like to take advantage of it at some point, but so far we haven't been successful.
From Tim Murray, we have, with respect to ground transportation, what impact will the proposed Route 28 bypass around Manassas Park have on the airport?
I would say anytime we can, you know, move traffic along, it'll have a positive effect on us. Really, 234 is my main concern. You know, we set right pretty much dead center of 234 that connects 95 and 66. So from my perspective, you know, if you can take traffic off of 234 and divert it somewhere else, I'm happy to see that. And I know the county has a flyover plan for Ballsford Road and 234 right there at 66, and some other bow tie. I think right there by the FBI facility, they're going to put a bow tie intersection in there. So I'm happy to see the county is working with VDOT and the state to take care of some of that traffic. But as regarding the question, I think that that's a positive move for everybody, frankly.
And Dave Kirby, as way back when he was traveling and living in Manassas, he would catch a unscheduled shuttle to IAD. Is that still available?
No shuttle service going on. That might have been when Colgan was here. They had a shuttle service. I see a thumbs up there. Yeah, that's what that was all about. We've looked into that. Again, there's a lot of different groups out there. Of course, COVID has, you know, impacted everybody. And so some of these groups that provide this point-to-point, you know, type stuff that we're looking to do, scheduled charter, you know, they're just like everybody else. They're not doing much of anything right now. So.
Okay. All right. Another question from Tim Murray. What are the main criteria a company reviews in deciding between utilizing Leesburg, Dulles, or Manassas airports for aviation?
Well, I think, first of all, the location, you know, is the location going to suit your clients? You know, if the aircraft belongs to a corporation or a company, who's going to be flying in that airplane the most? Is it the president or CEO? You know, where do they live? You know, are you going to have to reposition the airplane? If the person lives closer to Dulles than he does Manassas, you know, that might be a consideration. Of course, landing fees, we don't have landing fees. Our FBOs charge a lot less as far as fuel goes per gallon. Now that's getting more difficult because nobody pays retail anymore with all of these different companies out there, you know, wheeling and dealing. You know, it's hard to figure out what FBOs are getting now, you know, per gallon for jet fuel, which is, you know, over $6 a gallon. So, you know, I think the biggest consideration is location of your primary user of the aircraft. Now, some people, because of the savings in money, and that's what, when we go to MBAA schedulers, dispatchers, and, you know, we're basically marketing ourselves, you know, because, you know, there's only so many aircraft that live in this area, and everybody's going for the same ones. So, you know, what do you do to stand out? You know, and our big thing is, no landing fees. We have convenient to 66. We can get you on the road faster. For example, if you land here, you're not in the Congo line, and it doesn't take you 20 minutes to get to where your FBO is here. You're here in 2 minutes. So we let the car for security. We still let the limos and the cars out there on the ramp, where my understanding is Dulles doesn't allow that anymore. So when you think about it, we can get you in your car and on the road 30 minutes quicker than if somebody landed at Dulles. Now, it really depends on where they're going. National, if you're going to DC, I concede that. I tell everybody to fly, if you can, fly into National. That's the closest airport you can go to. But as far as other airports, we just try to position ourselves in the best, position to market ourselves. But I can tell you that there are a lot of people that will never come into Manassas, and they will never go into Leesburg. They want to go into an international airport like Dulles, and they don't care how much it costs them. They're always going to go into Dulles or National. But I think Paige will attest to the fact that it takes some effort to get that CEO for the first time to use Manassas, because if there's a hiccup on 66 and there's a crash or something and they can't get to where they're going, they'll never use us again. So it only takes one bad incident and we've lost them. So again, there's a lot of variables. I don't know if I can pinpoint one, but that's some of the ones that I can think of.
Okay, thank you. Our last question is from Jamie Wilson. And Jamie, I'll invite you on to ask your question as you have requested.
Yeah, Scott, I appreciate that. And actually, Juan, I think you may have been reading my mind, because you've already answered a good part of my questions. It was actually the scheduled charter service I was going to ask about, because I'm very familiar with some of those operations and whether you were exploring it. So it's good to hear you guys are definitely looking into that part of it. And with regard to the I-66 expansion, I know you mentioned that a little bit. And actually, one of the things I was going to talk about and ask you about was the difference in the fuel pricing and the retail pricing. It's actually, I was looking yesterday, it's about a little over $8 a gallon over at Dulles right now. But I'll pivot a little bit with that and say, with about the I-66 expansion, you mentioned, I think it was about 80,000 square feet of new hangar space that's been built out there. And has there been some analysis done either by the FBOs or by the airport or the city on how much growth potential there is at Manassas when this expansion opens to pivot folks from Dulles? I know you just kind of went down that conversation a moment ago about how hard it is to get the CEOs or different folks over there, but has there been any type of analysis to show up, 2, 3, 4 years from now, there's a huge growth coming to Manassas in the general aviation world? Okay.
I don't have a crystal ball, Jamie,
Right.
but I can tell you that prior to the pandemic, people were coming off the sideline with money to invest. And, of course, that hit, and then everything kind of went away. I think that, I'm seeing the same thing you guys are probably seeing. Corporations are not flying nearly as much as they did pre-pandemic. Your Part 91 guys, your 135 guys are actually, picking up, and those are the charter guys. You got a lot of people that are chartering for the first time. A lot of that has to do with, families deciding to fly charter versus trying to get on an airline with people they don't know, with COVID and everything. So I've always heard that once you go on a corporate flight, you never want to go back to anything else. So the hope there is that, all these new people that are, putting their toe in the waters of charter will continue to use charter, and we'll see, that increased activity. But we have always had full hangars. I tell people all the time, they're going to build a hangar, and I've been accused of spending other people's money on more than one occasion. But the fact is, if you're going to do a 10,000 square foot hangar, why waste your money? Do a 15 or 20, because airplanes are getting bigger. The airplanes are getting big. They're just as wide as they are long. And, the newer ones coming out, everything on the drawing board is just getting bigger. So hangars have to be bigger. They take up more ramp space. So GA airports have to consider the fact, Chantilly did a 5-acre ramp, which is unheard of. That's huge. So they're planning for the future, and we as an airport are looking for ways to expand our ramps and such. But I don't know, I guess it's experience. I feel positive that we're going to see the growth after we get out of this pandemic. And the hardest thing I have to deal with, Jamie, is I've been accused in the past of only caring about the big guys. Well, the big guys pay the lion's share of the fees. I can't run an airport on the backs of guys flying 172s. So I have to have a combination of both. I have to have, room and availability for the guy flying the single engine light twin, as well as the guy flying the $65–70 million corporate jet. So there's a fine balance that I have to deal with that, I got to get in the business of building small hangars too, because we're here to serve all general aviation. And so I have a limited amount of land, and so I have to use it wisely, but I have to also remember that I got to take care of everybody, not just one particular group. So.
Well, I have to say thank you for doing that, because I've experienced a lot of airports that are not that way. So you do a great job out there, and I'll thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Juan. We appreciate your time today and to brief us on what is happening out at the Manassas Regional Airport. I want to thank all who joined us today. For those of you who may not be members of the Committee for Dulles and would like to become a member or are interested in learning more about the Committee for Dulles, you can contact me at scottyork@committeefordulles.org. With that, I will turn the meeting back over to the co-chair of the Aviation and Airport Activities Committee, Georgia Graves. Georgia.
Thank you. Juan, you were awesome. Thank you so much. I loved your presentation. It was fantastic. Really appreciate your time and effort, and hope that we can work again together on future projects that come up that would welcome us to come out for a tour as we did a few years ago. For everyone that's in attendance, I wanted to let you know that our May program is on the 25th. It will be an update on the Udvar-Hazy Center and also on the Air and Space Museum downtown, and what they're doing with all the construction that's happening at this point in time. It should be a very interesting virtual tour. So please put it on your calendar and please attend. And we thank you very much. And as Scott said, if you're not tied with CFD, you're missing out on a wonderful opportunity. And we thank you so much for your attendance today and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you again. Thank you so much.